Hello everybody, this is Alice from So What. I purchased the clear blue tiles a little while ago and I wanted to talk to everybody about them, show you what I'm going to do. As most of you know, I do have a long arm, but there's so many times when you have these little projects, it just doesn't make sense to put it on a long arm to actually do it. So I'm going to give this a try with the clear blue tiles. So what I've done is I've opened up my tiles. I only have one border out. So you have a package of all the border ones. All right. And I left the skinny one out. And I have all the blocks here. So these are all the sizes that the Kimberbell Clear Blue Tile sizes come in when you buy the essential pack. Okay, so you have to buy the essential pack to get all the designs. All right, there is an expansion pack, and that has no designs in it, but it has the additional clear blue tiles for the bigger hoops. So based on your machine size and hoop size, you would want to purchase that. But I am just working right now with the essential pack. All right, and I just have the tiles just laying here because I was just messing around with them. So they go in this first pack anywhere from the size like a 2x2 block to I think it's an 8x10 block. All right, so those are the block sizes, and then they do the borders. So the borders go in like a 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, and 6 inch wide, I think is the biggest one. And I believe they go to 10 inches long. They might not go. What's the biggest one in the back here if I look at it? It looks like a 6x10. So they go, 6 inches wide, 10 inches long, border wise. So that's the border pack. All right. So let's say you had a 5x7 hoop, and that's as big as that you currently have is a 5x7. You could actually, put the littler tiles away that don't fit in your 5x7 hoop, and hey, okay, I don't have a hoop that's big enough for these, so the things that I can work with is the smaller block. So I can work with the 2x4 block or the 6x6 block. So you could set these out, the ones that you can work with, because you have a 5x7 hoop, and then you'll know, okay, well, here's all the sizes that I can work with. I'm going through these, getting rid of the 8 inches and the 4x8, and here's a 4x4. So these would be the smaller ones, not counting the borders. Okay, I'm just looking at the blocks. These could be the blocks that you could use if you had a 5x7 hoop only, right? And then we talk about, laying the blocks down, seeing how you want to block it, or to quilt it. Because you're going to pick the design that fits in this block, and you're going to just, do that design and then move it over, do the design. But you're going to mark your quilt first, and usually you might want to start with the biggest block that you can fit and say, yeah, that's what I want to do, or no, that's not what I want to do. You like looking at this design because it's already been embroidered. Normally I might stitch out all my quilting before I do the embroidery, but here we did this project earlier in the year. This was a dealer exclusive, and we did it between the months of May and June. So I might not want to quilt over top the house as much, and maybe I just want to put some quilting around it. So I could sit here and play with these and say, you know what, I might put this at the top and maybe just stitch these down the side, something like that. But at least with these sizes, they're already pre-cut. They tell you on the block what the size is, 2x8. So this would be, you want to pick the design that's 2x8, and that it's going to cover, the quilting is going to cover in that space. It doesn't necessarily go edge to edge either. You have to really look at the quilting pictures So when we look at this, we get, hundreds of designs, but they're all in different sizes. So you get the winter design, you get a spring design, you get swirls. We get the fall, the summer, the loops, and these two are borders, okay? So they're going to be really long and thin based on what size border you wanted. A 2-inch border, a 4-inch border, a 6-inch border. So these are all the borders, and there's a border swirl. So that's going to go with the block swirl in a sense. And you have a border loop that goes with the loops for the blocks. Okay, so these are borders. And then they have this thing called a Biddy Block. So the Biddy Block is basically a little tiny design that goes in the 2 by 2 inch only. Okay, so these mittens don't come in a 6 by 6 block. They're specifically designed to go in the 2 by 2 inch block. I was looking for my little block. I'm not seeing it sitting here. But there is a block that's only 2 inch by 2 inch. They call it the Biddy Block. And that, for a lot of us in quilters, it could be the cornerstone on your quilt. But a lot of Kimberbell designs, when you do their quilting, they will have little 2 inch by 2 inch blocks. And you could stitch one item in that 2 by 2 inch block, or if you had 3 of them together, you might do a 2 inch by 6 inch stitched item. This is 2 by 6. Let me double check. This is 2 by 8. Let me put that aside. I wouldn't be able to use that with the 5 by 7 hoop, but I could do a 2 by 6, and this could do a design across 3 blocks versus having a single design, a single design, a single design. But maybe you like these little bitty blocks and you wanted to do a single design. You wanted to do, the flower and then a little beehive and then the water bucket on 3 going across. Otherwise, maybe you wanted to stitch the bees, a 2 by 6 inch item going across. So that's, the basis behind using the clear blue tiles is that, you can mix and match the sizes, and no matter how you mix and match it, as long as you're using the coordinating files, like if you decide like on this is 4th of July, it's pretty busy by itself, so I decided I'm going to just do the loops. I think the swirls have too many loopies in it, these little swirls, they go real tight, and I don't want one of them coming across. So I'm just going to do the real basic loops. So this is the designs I picked. Okay, I'm going to do loops on top of this. And I want to show you back here in the book, when you look at this, you could see that it has all these different sizes. So there's going to be a loop quilting design that is, a 5 by 7 design, a 4 by 8, a 5 by 10, a 4 by 10, So all of these will have a loop design. And if I lay this one next to this one, you're not going to know where one starts and one ends, and it's going to blend. So that's basically what they're saying. I haven't tried it. That's why I'm going to do right now. I'm going to kind of lay this out, and I'm going to lay my clear blue tiles out. I'm going to mark my fabric, and I'm going to pick the size loop-wise design that fits inside the clear blue tile. So how I'm going to know that is on the tiles when they tell us to mark them. I had a couple sitting out here. I want to go find them again. I do have a big hoop, so I can use these ones that go to 10 inches. My biggest hoop, I believe, is like 12, almost 13 inches by 9. Each of you have different sizes, so that's the size that I have on my Janome. And what I did was I picked some of these out, and I said, I like this really thin 1 inch border right here across the middle, so that it has one design that's going to go across there. So I'm going to put the 1 by 10 inch loop quilting design right here. All right. So in the kit comes a pen. It's water soluble. It marks in blue. And then of course you spritz a little water on your markings and it goes away. But basically I really need to know where my center point is. So I want to make sure I'm marking my center point. I know the arrow means my design. This is the top of that design to start, and this is the bottom. And basically they tell us to mark, you know, the corner, so you know where one design starts and one design ends. So when I put my next tile down, whether it be the same tile or a different tile, I kind of know that. And then these help us square it up. Using the crosshairs if you wanted to do that. But the main thing is I know that this is my center point and there's my arrow up. I don't know that you can see those marks, but I can see the marks with the blue pen. What I didn't tell you is that I have my backing material laid down first, and it has the right side facing down. So I'm looking at the back of my backing material. There is some batting underneath here, and it's a little bit bigger than my project. Kim recommended that the batting be about 1 inch wider all the way around, 2 inches wider, and the back being like 3 inches wider. I don't have that. I kind of squared this, just kind of threw this together, because even my backing, I have pieced it. But the one thing I did do that she said to do was I taped it all down. So I have it all taped together. So I did do that. So I marked this one. And now what I want to do is I think I'm going to stay with the 10-inch size. But do I want to do like a 6-inch block above this one? I have a 4-inch one. You know, they almost fit right there above that if I do that. Because, you know, I don't, a 10 by 10 I don't have. Okay. There is a 10 by 10 in the essential, in the expandable pack of blue tiles. But my hoop won't take a 10 by 10. So I don't even want to mark that as a 10 by 10. I think I'm going to do a 6 by 10 here and a 4 by 10 up here of the loops. And then below this border that I have in, I think this will fit. Yes. So I'm going to do the 6 by 10 design twice, the 4 by 10 design once, and then the 1 by 10 design once. All right. So I need to make sure I load those designs, the loop designs, up on my USB so that I can find the right ones. Now, you're in this square here, you're supposed to mark what size clear blue tile you're using, but I know on this blue material background I'm not going to see this marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write it down here on this fabric that this is the 1 by 10. So I know that's what that design is, okay? Now, to proceed here, and I might have missed some other things if you've watched some of the videos that Kim did on clear blue tiles. That would be helpful. I watched a few of them, so I'm just, you know, hey, this is my first time, okay? I have not tried this, but I'm going to give it a try, and I'm taping it, so if any of you guys want to see what happens, we're just gonna work it together. This was I've done the house here 3 times. The other 2 I just did straight, you know, line quilting on it in class. So I just wanted to do something different, and we're gonna see how this goes. Again, I think the clear blue tiles for me is going to be something I'm going to like, especially for these smaller projects. And Do I want to quilt it ahead of time or do I quilt it afterwards? And that's things that you need to think about. I already assembled this. I already put all this embroidery together, and I was just going to do the lines through it, and I never got to it. So this was a perfect project just to try the clear blue tiles on. So I know that this is my up. So I'm going to, when I load this in my hoops, I'll be loading it where this is the top of the hoop, this is the bottom of the hoop, and these are the two sides. That's how I'm going to be loading it. So again, I have a 6x10. I'm going to actually write it down here. It's going to be easier for me to read than in the little box where my embroidery is. I think if you did this before you did your embroidery, you could write in there and be able to read it. So I'm pretty sure that we picked the 6x10 again. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of lining it up against the 1x10 design that's in there. So that these are going to, go one after another after another. It's just that it's a different size design that I'm going to be opening. So again, I'm just kind of marking the outsides. No big deal. It's not anything strenuous. It's not like I have to really hold this tight. And I'm just marking my arrow. The most important thing is to get that center spot, because that's really going to help us when you go to line it up in your hoop. Some of you have very advanced machines that are going to show you light or a LED light that comes down to the center, and you're going to know based on when you put this in your hoop that you have it on the crosshairs. Some of us are going to have to use our hoop grids, or anything else that we have that of how we go about making sure that we have something centered. If I'm a little bit off, it probably isn't going to make a really big deal on this. But I'm not going to purposely do that, just so you know, because sometimes, we could purposely move something and it, nobody's going to know but you that you moved it. But my plan is not to do that. And again, this one was the 4x10. All right, so I kind of see my centers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means I'm going to hoop this item 4 times because I have 4 quilting embroideries to add to it. So I need the 6x10 loops, the 1x10 loops, another 6x10 loops, I should say, and a 4x10 of the loops. And why I say loops, just a review, right? I went and I looked at the designs in the book, and I want to do just this basic design. I don't want to do anything too fancy. So I'm just going to do this basic design across this entire thing. All right, I'm going to pause my video. I'm going to move my cameras over to my embroidery machine. I'm going to load up my thread and make sure I have my files ready. And we'll be back, and we're going to stitch this out, and we're just going to see what it looks like. All right, I don't know if you can see this. I'm sorry if it flickers in the screen, but I just wanted to show you. When I go into my USB, I had to pick my version of file, which is a JEF for my Janome. And within the USB, it has all of the files you need for that version of a machine. So under JEF, I get the Biddy blocks, the borders, the border, the centering crosshairs if I need them, fall, loops, spring, summer, swirls, and winter. And when I go into loops, just like you go into any of the other folders, you're going to have 2 options. You're going to have an option to do it block by block, or an option to use clear blue tiles. Okay? So I want to talk about the difference of those. If you do it block by block, that's usually how you're going to do it when you do a regular quilt and you have your stabilizer in the hoop. You open up the block by block design, and it's going to give you stabilizer a place to put your batting, and then you're going to set your batting down, and then it's going to stitch down the batting, okay, and then it's going to attach the batting to the stabilizer, and you're going to trim, okay, and then you're going to open up your design, your embroidery design, and you're going to start stitching that design down by putting your fabric down first and then stitching whatever it needs to stitch in the embroidery design. Like, for example, for the house, it might stitch out where to put your fabric. You lay your fabric down, but your batting and everything is already laid down. All right? So when you put your fabric down on top of that batting, the quilting design, you're going to do all your quilting first. And then you're going to go open up your embroidery design and finish the embroidery on top of the quilting that was there. So the block by block is going to give you placement lines for batting underneath and your actual block embroidery that you're going to be working on, whether you're working on the 8x10 block or a 2x2 block or a 6x6 block. Whatever that size is what size quilting you would want to use on that background piece. If you chose the design for clear blue tiles, you don't get those placement lines for where to put your batting first and tacking down that batting, because it's assuming when you do clear blue tiles that you're just quilting. You already have a sandwich already put together. You don't have to build that sandwich. All right, so that's the difference. So I did select my clear blue tile one, and I went and found my 6x10 size. I know that this is the top, this is the bottom based on the arrow. You need to center your blue markings where the design is centered wise. So most of the time you would center it, when you open a design, it opens up in the center of your hoop, okay? Some of us have these. If you don't have one, Kim does talk about how to make like a template, but this template fits inside my hoop so that I know where the exact center of my hoop is. Now what I've done is I've taken this design and slid it all the way to the left. I didn't go up and down, I just went to the left. So I know that this center horizontal line is good. I'm lined up right on my blue markings. What I did though, moving the design to the left, this is my new center point over here, not the real center of the hoop, because I'm trying to move the design as far to the left as I need it to in order to stitch this out based on the way I put this in the hoop. So I was able to line it up because I know that right where my needle is right now is where the center is of the embroidery design. And if I turn my needle down, I can see where it's going to hit. So it's hitting around that center point. It's close enough. You have a needle that's going to be a really tiny pinpoint versus a blue dot, which is a lot bigger. So as long as I'm pretty close to that blue dot and straight horizontally, vertically, I don't have it twisted like 45 degrees. I feel pretty good about doing the quilting on it. I only have white thread in. I'm going to do white on the back and white on the top. So I'm not going to worry about, color or anything like that. Plus, I really want my writing and everything to stand out. So I don't really want to pick another color. It will stitch over top of this writing with white, remember, because I'm quilting it after the fact. And I'm willing to live with that. I want to see what it looks like. All right. So now that I have this set up, I am going to start my machine to quilt. I don't want to be on any major speed or anything like that. And this has got 2,886 stitches in it, okay, this little 6x10 loop design. With the clear blue tiles and the fact that you already have a sandwich, you're not putting stabilizer in the hoop. You should be hooping your item, your fabric underneath. That all should be hooped. I am having a problem hooping it. All right, my hoops are not staying closed, so I'm using my magnets on this side, and I have it taped on this side right now. I want to see how it goes. The worst thing that can happen is that it comes undone, it doesn't move, and I have to pick it all out. So we're going to see how it runs. Again, I'm testing this on my Janome. Other hoops, maybe I need to look at if there's another hoop that has more area that I could put a big sandwich in and still use this hoop for the design. I do have a quilting hoop where you just use the magnets on it, but it's not 10 inches. It's a 9 by 9. So it wouldn't let me use this design. So I wasn't going to change my designs. I was going to try and do it without changing it and see what happens. So going to hold our breath, we're going to push start and we're going to see what happens. In your box for clear blue tiles, there are a couple slap bands. I didn't get them out of the box, but you can see here underneath my throat of my machine, if my quilt was bigger, I could roll it up and put the slap band on there and hold it out of the way. I don't have a lot here, so I'm not too concerned with that, but that is something that is in the actual box that you receive are 2 slap bands. All right, I'm gonna start. Here we go. See what happens. So remember, I picked the 6 by 10. I don't really want to stitch that, because believe it or not, it's doing a placement line, and I should have turned that on first, and I did not see that, so I want to skip that step. So I obviously did not pick the right file. I picked the block file and not the clear blue tile file. All I want to do is stitch out the design. So I'm going down now to start, and now I just see my design. My fault. So we are starting the quilting now. I'm going to try and trim that. Pull it out of the way in the back, so it doesn't get caught up, and then when I take the stitching out later, hopefully it'll be okay. I am just, monitoring my hoop a little closely here because of the way that I'm using my magnets and everything on my hoop. You can see it's just doing little swirls. You can see the quilting on the dark blue. On the white, it kind of blends in. And that's kind of the way I wanted it to do, was kind of blend in with everything. Now, maybe I should have started in the middle. That might be something I need to actually look at, because I believe when you do some of the quilting, you usually start in the middle. I just started on the side. So if I started on this side, I'm probably going to keep moving one by one over and have my quilt that's been done off to the left of my machine as I go. So it doesn't look too bad. It's just stitching loops. It's not real dense of a stitch at all. And this is the 6 by 10 design. My next one will be a 1 by 10 design, because that's the design that's going in here. So we'll see where we go when we get to that one. The design is a little bit bigger than my actual block, because my block wasn't exactly the same size as the embroidery file called for, because I added this little piece here because I was trying to make it a wall hanging. But if you had the exact 6 by 10 block, this would definitely be stitching in that 6 by 10 block. Mine just is a little bit smaller than the 6 by 10. That's it. So there is the first embroidery file. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move my items. I don't know that I can get the 1 by 10 in. But you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I am going to go back to my main screen, and I'm going to open up the design for the 1 by 10. So the 1x10 design that I picked was really a border design. So I want to make sure when I go into the loops that I pick the border design. And I want the border design that's 1x10. All right. All right, so I opened up the loops, border designs, and I was looking for the 1x10. Okay, well, when I'm out there, I'm looking at them, and there were more than just the 1x10. There's a 1x10, a 1x12, and a 1x14, and I had to make sure I had the right one opened. Because I didn't see the full name of the file, so I had to change my screen around a little bit to find it. So I have that open on my screen now, the 1x10. And I have the design centered on my dot, even though it's not centered in my hoop. Normally you would put it in the center of the hoop, but I was going to try not to remove my stuff off the hoop yet, because I know I can get this little tiny design in here in this strip. So I have that loaded. I'm going to hit start, and I am going to stitch out just this little 1x10 design here of what's called the border loops. And we're going to see what that looks like. Okay, I'm expecting it to either go to the top or bottom, and it's going to the top. You can see it, it's just doing loops. It looks pretty good. I mean, I have it pretty close to the center of that little strip going down there. It looks like I didn't do too bad of sewing a straight line, sewing these two pieces together. So not too bad. And I'm not changing any sizes of these designs. Kimberbell makes it so if I pick a 6x10 and a 1x10 and a 4x10, when you look at them all together, they're all going to look the same. You know, it's not like these loops will be a lot smaller or a lot bigger than the other hoops based on which size you pick. So they should blend pretty good. So this really blended nicely. Let me see if I can tilt my camera over and you can kind of see what I've done so far. So you can kind of see it on the white. And then here's the little loops here on my border that went from edge to edge, top to bottom. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to now move my item in the hoop over so that I could do the next 6x10 over top the house, and then I have one more to do at the other end. So that's where we're going to go next. Okay, so now I've opened up the 6x10, the correct file this time, called the Clear Blue file, and it does not have any of the placement line for the batting. It is strictly the quilting, which is the one that I want. Remember back here, that's first one, I had the one that did the placement line before I realized it, so I have a little stitching I want to take out when I get this off the hoop. So I have opened up my design. I have centered my design over top of my crosshairs that I have, because I don't have it completely centered in my hoop, and I'm able to see that. With a Janome, it does have an iPad attachment. I can take a picture of the hoop. I can have my quilting design and visually see the design over top of the hoops so that I know that I have it centered as well. So I have a little bit advancements, I should say, using the Janome. Like if you're using the Brother, you can see your crosshairs on your screen. You can take a picture of what's in your hoop and you can place it that way. So every machine has different ways of doing it. But I have centered my design, and again, it's just the quilting. So I'm going to hit start, and we're going to do this next piece. But again, it's the 6x10 piece, because I still have another one to do at the end on this top side. Now, you can see that I now can use my magnets on the right side of my hoop, and the left side I don't have that. I have it taped in place, so again, I guess I just need to work on, you know, do I want to have these hoops completely open spring-wise and look at doing that. I'm not totally forcing it right now, just because I'm doing this little project. But it will be something to think about in the future, is making sure that I have that extra material all the way around so that it gets caught in my hoop. Because my hoops are a lot bigger with this extra space at the top and bottom than most machine embroidery hoops. So I would need, you know, like 6 inches of material on the top and bottom to have it catching into my hoop. Now, you could just take like muslin and sew to this edge and have it hooked, so that might be something to look at doing the next time that I do the quilting. So just things to think about. But first time using it, I think I'm okay with what I'm doing, and it's a very simple stitch. And then I am monitoring my machine as it's running the whole time, so I'm not too afraid that, you know, something drastic is going to happen. But here we go. We got the quilting going. It looks like it's doing just fine. Again, it's just the little loops. It's a very basic design. And it is a little bit bigger than I need it, but that's okay. It is going off a little bit to the border, but I'm okay with that. Even when you put binding on, there are times when you do edge-to-edge quilting and things like that, you don't always see all the quilting. Some of it does go off into the fabric that gets put underneath the actual borders, or binding, I should say. So not too bad. Looks pretty good. Now I'm not going to be able to just add the next one. I'm going to have to slide my fabric down again a good amount. Here's the center point of the next one, so I need to, you know, get this closer to the center because it will be stitching all the way up through the top. So I'm going to move mine in the hoop again. I'm going to open up what I have down here is the 4x10 loop design, and I'm going to stitch that out. Alright, so I moved my stuff in my hoop. I opened up the 4x10, because that's what I have written down here, of the loop quilting design for clear blue tiles. So again, the difference was the clear blue tile ones only give you the quilting. So you have to know your center spots. You have to know that you have it vertically and horizontally aligned, and you know the center. If you pick the border design, the border block design, or what's called the block design instead of clear blue tiles, that's where it gives you your placement for putting your batting down, tacking your batting in place, putting your fabric down, and then doing the quilting. So you have those extra stitches in there. You could skip through them, but if you forgot like me and you started, well, now I need to take them out. So you want to make sure if you're doing clear blue tiles, you don't want all those back stitches, all those, you know, the tack down of the batting and all that. Make sure you pick the clear blue tile files. All right, so I have the 4x10 loaded. I'm going to hit start. I know that it's in the center. Of course, it's probably going to go to the top or the bottom to start stitching. That's exactly what it's doing. And yes, it is a little bit bigger than my marks, my border is here. So I am going to have quilting going off into the batting, which is no big deal. I'm not going to worry about that. It's just like when I do long arming. I do quilt off the quilt, and then that all gets trimmed off later, and then when I bind it, you know, it just looks like it's continuous anyway. So again, we're doing the loops. Pretty basic design. I guess I have it a little overlapped here, and I was really close with those tiles. I don't know that that's going to be any big, you know, maybe some of you, want to be more careful when you lay one tile next to the other tile. but I was trying to squish it a little bit because I knew, you know, that would go off. The 4-inch and the 2-inch was just too small. So again, you know, you're messing around with the tiles, trying to fit it, and I'm doing a design that's not completely by size, exactly the block sizes that Kimberbell uses. And that's the thing with these quilting designs. They are strictly related to the standard Kimberbell files or sizes that they use for their blocks. You know, when you do a bench pillow with them, you always have blocks that are like 6 by 10 or 4 by 10 or 8 by 10. These clear blue tiles all work with all of those designs. You know, it's just Kimberbell likes using certain sizes, and that's what helps when you use their pop rulers with cutting. Again, it's all related to that. So if you bring a design from somewhere else, you might not be able to get the full design in that square, because again, like, this is not built to the actual design. So this isn't an 8 by 10 or a 6 by 10 square. It's a little bit different because I just made it so that it would be longer. I have extra material up here at the top that wasn't planned for in the original design. So, but I made it work with clear blue tiles. I think I'm pretty happy with the outcome of what it looks like. I am done stitching, so I'm going to actually remove it to the hoop. I'm not going to take my camera back over to the table. I'm going to take out these stitches that it did way down here, where it started to stitch down a placement line for some batting. And we're going to look at this design. Hopefully the lighting will be a little better, and you can see the loops, and you can, you know, see for yourself if you like using this. All right, so I have this off the hoop. I didn't want to do much to it. I just took out the few stitches that were right here. It still has the straight line down here, but it's kind of off my border, so I wasn't going to take all that stitching out. No reason to. So, you know, this is what it looks like. So I'm trying to look at my camera, see if you can kind of see the quilting in it. And here's that one that I did right across that center. So you have, like, you know, there was one here, we had the center one, we did one here, we did one here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 designs across this, but they're all called loops. There's 3 different sizes. These 2 sizes are the same. This was a small one. This was a smaller than this. So this is the 4 by 10, 6 by 10, and the 1 by 10. So if I turn it over to the back and you look at it, you really can't tell that I did 4 hoopings in a sense, right? I stitched 4 separate embroidery designs from the clear blue tiles called loops. So the only thing you see on the back, and depending on your machine and how it ties off, you're going to see my little threads where it tied off. So I know that that was in like an end point or a starting point. I have one here, I have one here, I have one over here. So I'm going to see those, and I might have to trim them just a little bit, clean them up. But other than that, this looks almost like you just did it all at one time. Basically, you know, on a bigger machine. So the only thing I learned, the biggest thing I learned about this is I want to make sure that I have a lot more material going around it to make sure that it gets hooped in my hoop. But overall, it worked out good with my magnets and things like that. The center points are a definite. You need to know that, you know, what is your top, the arrow piece. You need to know this center point, and doing those crosshairs really helps you line up things in the hoop. So I'm very pleased with that. I'm very pleased with the finished product. I think it looks nice. I can't freehand loops. I'm not good at that. If you wanted me to stitch it with straight lines, or so to speak, going across in a crosshatch, I've done that with my domestic machine and had no issue. But this is, you know, something else I can do to make it look just a little bit more. Again, the quilting was done after we did the embroidery, so you're going to see the quilting lines on this house. because it stitches right through the house. Now, I could have been picky and I could have picked the smaller tiles and just did, you know, let's say a tile on this side and do this same one over here and do one up here. I could have done that and left the house with no quilting. Absolutely. I could have just skipped and kind of avoided that area just using the clear blue tiles, not using any software, right? I know some of you have software on your machines that you could have loaded this design in and just had it stitch around the design. I don't have that capability. Those with the Lumineer have that capability to do that when you do this. I don't. So I could have, again, added a tile here on the side and just stitched those sizes going around the house and left the house as it is. Now at the bottom with the words, that doesn't look too bad with the white going through it. So it was just, you know, here if you didn't want them going through the house. So the next thing I have to do now is I have all my stuff taped down. So I have all this tape going around. So we're going to be removing that tape. And I will be trimming it up, right? Because like with any quilt, I like to square the edges and the corners off so that I can get it ready to add binding to it. So that would be the next thing I would do to finish this. But what a wonderful thing. I'm very pleased with using the clear blue tiles on this. If you watch the video on YouTube, Bunny posted yesterday, so that would be October 27th. It was a Halloween table topper from Patrick Lose. Really thinking that I might try that table runner and try doing again the quilting on it, because that's something that's also, you know, not the easiest thing to put in a long arm to hoop, and it's not too big. It's probably like, you know, 30 by 30, like a round big 30-inch circle. So that might be something again to actually use this on for quilting. And again, it's not a Kimberbell item, so like my stitching needs will probably run off into the batting and things like that, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. When I go and add this, add the border and the binding to this, I think it'll look just fine. So just something else to think about instead of just doing the straight lines on the gingham fabric for that. And it was gingham even in the Christmas one he has in the clear blue tiles. If I look at the designs again, there is a winter design with snowflakes that would look really cute. And this candy corn one, that would look really nice, I think, on the fall, the Halloween table topper, and this one would look good on the Santa table topper. So if I get those dug out and I get them ready, maybe I'll do another quick video and show you how I do it again and see what happens. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, this is Alice at So What, and I'm just trying out my clear blue tiles and seeing how they work. I did find the one, it was on the floor. This is the Biddy one I was talking about, the Biddy Block. It's a 2x2 square. So if I wanted to, on this quilt, I could have centered this one right here in this corner, and I could have taken any of the little Biddy Blocks designs and added it right there as just this special little item sitting up there in the corner. And here are the ones that are available right now. So not any of them, you know, to me really went with the Home Sweet Haunted Home. If there was just one little heart, that would have been nice. Or if there was something 4th of July, like a firework. I mean, this swirl might look nice. And a variegated thread, you know, up here in the corner. And then mirror image it and put it over in the other corner as well. So just, you know, things you can think about. But again, here's the Biddy Block. I could have put just one right here and added me something right there on top the roof. It could have been, you know, like the flower or something like that. So just things you can think about. But that is the smallest block that is available. with the blocks. And then of course I used that border block that was 1 inch. So there is a 1 inch border block. Okay, and that 1 inch will go, you know, 1 by 4, 1 by 6, 1 by 8, 1 by 10, 12, and 14. If you buy the extension package, so you only go to 10 inches, so you go 8 by 10 with the essentials pack, and then there's another set of clear blue tiles that take you into the bigger hoops. So, but you have to buy the essential pack to get all the designs. So no matter what, you got to buy the essential pack to get there. And then if you really want the bigger clear blue tiles, then you buy that second one. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and everybody have a good night. Thanks.